Bonjour classe, salut mes amis. Comment allez-vous? Hope everything is going okay. And we're going to start looking at our new set of vocabulary that we're going to be doing for this week. Activities you want and prefer to do. So in the past, we've talked about with classes, what we like, prefer, what we love, what we hate. So now this unit is actually about making plans. So we looked at weather, because weather affects what plans you may want to do. Right now it's raining outside. I'm probably not going to go on a walk like I did earlier during the lunch break because it was a nicer time of day. So that does, the weather does impact which plans that we may want to do. Numbers we looked at as well, and we'll be using that in this unit. And now we're coming to activities. So activities you want to do and prefer to do. And notice that to do at the end, because that's going to be important. So l'objectif, I will be able to share activities I want and prefer to do. And again, you're making plans with someone. So think about when we get the ability to make plans with someone, do you want to do this? Do you prefer to go to the movies or go to the park? Do you want to go play basketball or play soccer? So we use those words a lot when we're making plans. So our first verb that we're going to look at is to want, which comes from the verb vouloir. And notice that je veux, I want, doesn't really look a whole lot like vouloir. So if you can tell from the box here at the bottom, it's another one of those boot verbs. So everything in the boot kind of looks the same, and the stuff that's outside the nu and the vous form looks a little bit different. So for this unit, since we're making plans with one other person, we're mostly going to be focusing on the I and the you form. So when you're talking about yourself, saying je veux, maybe you, and that's saying that I want to do something, but if you don't want to do something, non, je ne veux pas. Non, je ne veux pas. And again, remember the no and the pas means that it's not. So that might be a response, but you're also going to be making plans. So that means that you have to be asking people about what it is they want to do. So you're going to be using the tu form to say tu veux, do you want, and then plus an activity. So again, all the forms are there for you, but just know it's primarily going to be je veux and tu veux. The other verb is one that we've already seen before. Préférer, to prefer. So again, we're mostly going to be using the I and the you form, same reasons. I prefer to do this or this, but not this. Do you prefer? Again, when you're making plans. And we're going to definitely be using or. Because when you're saying a preference, usually you offer two options so that someone can say they prefer one thing over the other. So je préfère, tu préfères, u. So do you prefer this or that? So, tu préfères nager ou aller au cinéma, right? Using some of the old activities that we know. And notice that préférer is another one of those boot verbs. Those accents make those changes outside of the boot. A good question to help guide some conversations or some practices that we might see is this question here, quand tu es libre. And it's a great starter phrase to ask when you are free. Do you want? Do you prefer? And we're going to end up seeing some other ways that we can talk about activities too. So, quand tu es libre, think of libre as like liberty. Liberté is a French word as well. So it has the kind of free part in it. What do you want to do? So another question that again can start the conversation with somebody about making plans. Qu'est-ce que tu veux faire? Qu'est-ce que tu veux faire? So another key question in this unit about making plans. What do you want to do? And notice, like I said, that to do in the beginning of the presentation, that's where we're seeing the word faire. So faire can be used with some of our specific expressions like we saw in our last unit. We'll see some activities in here too. Or it can mean to do or to make on its own. So if we want to get somebody to share an activity that they like to do, they want to do, or they prefer to do in this case, we use the word faire so that it can be open-ended. What do you want to do? I want to go to the beach. I want to play basketball. I want to, whatever. So the activity is replacing the faire. And we're only going to conjugate the ve. So again, luckily for us, the je and the tu form of ve are the same. So again, if we're thinking about answering that question, qu'est-ce que tu veux faire? Then we have our specific activities that we want to talk about. So again, we're seeing the word faire for a second time, but when it's tagged on with some of these words, and it's usually things from English, and we'll see that with jouer as well with some of the specific sports, now it takes over that term. So faire du sport really means that we're doing sports or doing activities. We don't say to do sports, we say to play sports, but that's what the expression is in French. So if I did want to play sports, I would say je veux faire du sport. Faire du sport. In real life, since you guys know me, I would probably say je ne veux pas faire du sport, right? I don't want to play sports, or je ne préfère pas faire du sport, as is my personality. Faire des exercices. So again, we're keeping faire here. Again, think about it, to exercise. That's what we would say in English. We don't say to do, maybe we say to do exercises sometimes. Faire des exercices. A specific type of exercise. Faire du jogging. Faire du jogging. So notice how we have faire, and then we tag something on after it, and that word kind of takes over what the expression means. Or you could say faire du footing, but most people say faire du jogging. Faire du patinage. Faire du patinage or faire du patinage artistique. If you add the artistique on there, it's specifically figure skating. Otherwise, it's just ice skating. Faire du skate. Faire du skate. So notice a lot of these are cognates, right? That ending part that goes with faire is going to help us know what the expression is meaning to say. No one really says faire du skateboard. You're going to notice with a lot of these that they're kind of chopped. Faire du théâtre. Faire du théâtre. So in this, to do theater, yeah, we say that sometimes, or drama, right? To perform. Faire du vélo. Faire du vélo. For bike riding. Everyone's favorite. Faire les devoirs. Faire les devoirs. I've seen this one as well. Faire les magasins. To do the stores. To hit the shops. To go shopping. Okay. Faire du shopping also works as well. Like another cognate. So now we're going to switch up the verb that we're using. We were using faire, right? Tagged on with an activity. Faire on its own means to do or to make, but when we have that little piece that's tagged on, that takes over the expression. But now when we start to look at jouer, remember that jouer means to play. So these are expressions that we want the word to play in front of it. So jouer au volley. Again, the volleyball is dropped off of it. Just volley, keep it short and sweet. Jouer au basket. Lots of cognates here that always makes our lives much easier. Jouer au tennis. Jouer au tennis. Jouer au foot. Jouer au foot. And remember that football or jouer au foot, that is soccer, which is what the rest of the world calls football. We call. Then, what we think of as football, football américain. So that American does make a difference, right? We can also use jouer to talk about instruments. So jouer means to play in general. So jouer d'un instrument. Jouer d'un instrument. You could look up personal vocabulary, your specific instrument, if you really wanted to, or that one. Jouer à des jeux vidéo. Everybody's favorite. Jouer à des jeux vidéo. And then an activity that's kind of specific to culturally to France, I would say also maybe like 7, 8 or so years ago. Parkour, if you're not familiar with it, is kind of this challenging exercise. To me, an accident waiting to happen because I am not coordinated. Jumping from one place to another, so like up walls. I'm not going to suggest buildings, but kind of an interesting physical activity. I'm not going to knock it because I couldn't do it. But if anybody does it, let us know. Could be kind of interesting. So faire du parcours. So it's another cognate. And if you don't know what it is and you're interested, there are tons of videos on YouTube. So you could check that out. And that's all of our vocab. So please, as always, let me know if you need anything. Make sure that you're watching this video more than once to get that practice, and pause too in between so that you can practice pronouncing the words out loud. Au revoir!